we got Silent Night. Just got back from it. Was it good? Was it action-y? Was it Christmassy? Find out in my review right now. Alright, we're going to talk about Silent Night, starring Joel Kinneman and directed by John Woo. I didn't get to see the whole film, but I was escorted out of the theater because me and a guy that wouldn't turn his phone off almost got into a tussle. But we'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, I am Frank Zenka. I am your host. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer. In fact, my pilot called Renegades Amanara has been winning awards right and left. It was the last thing that Nichelle Nichols starred in. She played the original Uhura behind me. So I'm excited about that. Thank you to the whole cast and crew for making that pilot just amazing. But also, if you're looking at for other things that I've written, of course there's a couple of things behind me, but I also have a Kickstarter running right now, so you have to jump on it because I only have a few days left and it's over. So this is my vampire mob set in the 1950s with a special guest appearance by Marilyn Monroe, but there's the issue 2. I have it actually, the artwork for half the issue already done, so I printed it up so I could read it. And then here's the first issue as well. So again, it's vampire mob set in 1950s. And it's got plenty of action and gore. It's more of a mature audience, so we do have a little bit of nudity in it, and blood, and violence, and anything you possibly want that's in a comic, especially a vampire one. So the QR code is right here, or in the description below there's a link, or you can just go right to Kickstarter and type in Lords of LA, and it'll come right up. But if you can support it, please do, because again, there's only a couple of days left. Some of the covers will be being retired. Some of them are Kickstarter exclusive only. So, all right, but thank you very much for doing that, and let's get on to the review. So yeah, there was a guy that just I love people that not only have their phone on, but hold it up like this, so the entire that's all you're seeing. If you're behind him, any row behind him is seeing this phone. So I'm not a quiet person, as you probably already guessed. So I'm like, turn the phone down now, close it off. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not even dealing with this shit. I went out and got security, brought him back. He still had the phone on. So they told him to turn it off. So at least he didn't turn it back on for the rest of the movie. But after the movie was over, you know, he's like, you got something to say? I'm like, you got something to say? Let's take it outside, blah, blah. We're getting each other's faces. And the wife is like, you're the problem. I'm like, I want to know the phone on. And he's like, do you run things here? Do you run things here? I'm like, what does that have to do with it? I'm a paying customer. What does me running something have to do with you turning your phone on when they actually tell you in front of every single movie, don't turn your phone on. It's the rules. You don't want to follow it? That's on you. Why is that my fucking problem? So yeah, so we're about to take it outside. Security came up and made us go through 2 different doors. So I had to go through the back. Yeah, they were afraid we were gonna throw down. We were pretty fucking close, man. We were pretty close to throwing down. I don't take shit. I don't care if I'm the smaller guy. I will stand right up and get in somebody's face, man. He should have let that shit go, but he didn't want to let it go, and I wasn't sure I could let it go. But anyway, that was my experience, because normally I do out of the theater reactions. You know, I actually step into an empty theater and do it, and I couldn't do it this time because I got thrown out. Anyway, that's my experience with Silent Night. So this was directed by John Woo. I haven't seen John Woo do anything in a while. The Replacement Killers is probably one of my favorite John Woo films. That was, you know, back in the day. But the writer of this has very few writing credits, But what's different about this film, and again, I walked in here only knowing it was like a revenge type of movie. I didn't know anything else besides, and the cast. And the movie, if it has 3 lines in the entire movie, I'm going to be surprised. Because I think it was just the wife had like 1 line. CB Radio had a line. I think that one of the cops had a line. And I think that's it. Maybe there was 1 more. Maybe it was 4 lines. Joel Kinneman has 0 lines. He has 0 lines in the entire film. So the film that's why they call it Silent Night, because it is basically a silent film except for the sound effects. That's the only sound, that's the only things in the soundtrack. So there is no dialogue. So the script itself only has action. That's it. So the script is probably pretty short. The movie wasn't quite 2 hours. I think it was like 1 hour and 40. But it's a traditional type of movie, revenge movie. In fact, I was writing a revenge comic, very different than this. This felt very John Wick. I think it was by the producer that did John Wick. So anyway, it was Robert Archer Lynn is the writer. Again, I've never heard of him, and he's done very little. Joel Kinneman has done a bunch of stuff from Carbon Fiber, whatever that thing was on Netflix. And then he was, of course, in Suicide Squad. He did RoboCop. He was in The Killing, which was a great series, if you haven't seen it. So, yeah, he's got some really nice credits behind him. And he just keeps pushing himself. And he was one of the producers on this movie, just saying. So he liked the movie enough, or the script enough, to actually, he probably helped propel it forward to help get some of the financing and things like that. The wife was played by Catalina Sandino Marino, if you can't get, I guess, more Latin than that. Because if you're Latin, you have to have at least 3 names, if not more. Rosanna Dana, what was that from Saturday Night Live back when it was funny? So she had 1 line in the whole movie. She was relegated to the traditional wife role, but her performance was great because he was falling apart after the son. They had like a 6-year-old son that was killed. So it's very like Peppermint and stuff like that. It's traditional. I mean, there's very little different about it, except for the action and the fact that there was no dialogue. So she has, she was cried when she had to and stuff to that effect. He did some weird close-up stuff with her. John Woo did, he did weird, it wasn't even close-up, it was extreme close-up, where he did extreme close-up on her eye and her tear. I thought that was kind of strange. That was kind of pushing the envelope just a little bit too far. But he was falling apart. She was trying to keep it together for both of them and couldn't. And couldn't. So she ends up leaving him, which it was fine because the movie really needed to focus on him and her. Their relationship was going nowhere. Their relationship was crumbling apart. And that's not what the movie was about. So it's more, what I didn't like is, of course, that the majority of the film was him training himself. So, I mean, I wish Star Wars was like that with Rey, but and this was almost took it too far. But, we see him in the beginning not even be able to do pull-ups, which I don't know if I really believe that. The guy's pretty built in the beginning of this movie, so... But he can't even do pull-ups, and he's teaching himself how to drive, by, doing, being able to go in reverse, and then go and turn around and go forward. And he's teaching himself all this stuff. Now, where he's getting the money for any of this to live for a year, because he gives himself a year to train, and on the anniversary of his son's death, that's when he's going after everybody. So he gives himself a year to train up. Again, how his wife was the only one working, so I have no idea how they must have had a bunch of money saved. But anyway, so they go down the traditional trope of the gangsters, the Latin gangsters. So it's all street thug type of stuff. They didn't shy away from it. And Kid Cooley, I don't know if I said that right. Kid Cudi, I don't know how to say his last name. Cudi, Kid Cudi. It's Cudi, however you say that, whether the U is long U or not. But anyway, he was from X. I did see him in that. He was really good in that. And he was good in this, but I wish he had a bigger role. His role was very tiny, very tiny. So yeah, so the movie was good. It's action-packed. It draws you in, especially when you realize that nobody's talking. So that almost, by nobody speaking, it almost makes you direct more attention to it, if that makes any sense. So you're getting drawn in because there's no dialogue. I don't know if that makes any sense. And that's why when my eyes were being directed towards the cell phone, I wasn't having any of it. I liked the film. Was it great? No, it wasn't great. It was, just a standard vengeance film. And something we've seen before, probably 100 times. Death Wish to anything else on. Like I said, John Wick, Peppermint, all that stuff. The Punisher type of story. And I was kind of almost hoping that he would put on some kind of a costume where we would make it, more of a superhero-y type of thing. Because that's how it felt. I don't know. That's how it felt to me. Because John Wick has a superhero costume on. So it's nothing but a suit. But it's a bulletproof suit, so it almost feels like a costume, But anyway, so again, I wish that the cop had a little bit more. Because he went in to the whole fight with the bulletproof vest, but the cop didn't. I didn't understand that. I thought that was very strange. First, the cop would definitely put on a bulletproof vest going into a fight, and I don't know. But, the fights were brutal. They didn't shy away from anything. They didn't shy away from the main character getting the crap beat out of him. He did, because at one point he does get stabbed in the leg, and I'm like, is he going to just blow it off, or is he going to actually have a limp? He does have the limp for the most part. I can understand, being adrenaline-based when you're in the middle of something where you can kind of push off the pain. I get that. So I was okay with all that. I really wish that they would screw people's face up more, but it's an actor, so they don't want to screw up their face too much to have, big bruises and blood and everything like that. But that's how it would be in a regular fight. Your face would be pulped up, almost beyond recognition, kind of like in Rocky. The first Rocky film, I think, was the first time I'd seen, an actor do that to his own face. And of course, then he does Dread. He won't keep the helmet on. So, there's that. I also like the Christmas side of it. I don't think this is going to beat like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard going into the action movie. But I could be wrong. Christmas type of thing. But they use the Christmas ball. If I just say balls, it's not going to come out right. So the Christmas ball trope they use continuously. Like he has the balls that go back and forth that hit one another. So that's used continuously as a use of the Christmas balls. Also, the villain has all these balls hanging from the ceiling as part of his deco. And, so that's a tropey thing for the Christmas balls as well, or an allergy to the Christmas balls. So I thought that was interesting, and it starts out with action. It's almost with him running, and it almost takes too long because it goes through the whole credits in slow motion with him running, and then it gets worse from there, and then we go into the training thing, and then the action scenes at the end. So it has the beats that you would think that a normal traditional film like this would have. So if I was going to, from a scale from 1 to 10. It's probably a 7. It's enjoyable, but probably forgettable. And the character, aside from not being able to speak, there isn't anything special about him. Like John McClane, the characters from Lethal Weapon, they all had memorable stuff where this one just doesn't. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. So I do suggest going to see it because it is entertaining and it is enjoyable. So, but it's just not memorable. The car chases are very good though, because sometimes you really can't do car chases without something new, and I thought that they did the car chases pretty well. All right, and remember, if you can give to pre-order Lords of LA, again, I am signing them too, or you can get them digitally. I'll put the QR code back up and the link below, or just go to Kickstarter.com and type in Lords of LA, and I would appreciate helping us get to that next stretch goal. We're only a couple $100 off. All right, and yeah, only a couple days left, so we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot, guys. Happy holidays, and I'll have some other videos up here as well if you want to check out anything else that we do for the channel. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. All right, bye-bye.